Thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, it was, I was quite happy to receive this invitation because one of the challenges I found, quite frankly, with so many events like this is that, recruiting people are brought forward to speak to a group, and then I would listen to what everybody had to say, and I would end up leaving the event really feeling that I didn't have any more information than I had when I came in, or I didn't have any of the details that I felt that I needed to be able to take any of the pieces away and actually implement them in our company. And that's certainly been one of my frustrations. So I know we have a lot of material between the three of us that will be covered. So, I would encourage you in terms of your questions afterwards, if I can elaborate on anything. We're very sharing in terms of information, and I'm sure we can provide contact information afterwards. So if anybody has any more specific questions on how we've actually implemented something in our fleet, I'm more than happy to share that information with you. So the first thing I was just going to start with is we were asked to bring forward challenges, and we all know the challenges are many, and the challenges are getting worse, and really, ultimately, the biggest single issue is that we're dealing with a shrinking labor market, and we sometimes have tunnel vision in our industry, I think, and feel that labor market issue is specifically related to the transportation sector, but the reality is that every industry and every sector is facing the same challenges. Our workforce is shrinking. The people that are coming into the workforce have a very different mindset in terms of what they want. Their expectations from employers are very different. And the difficult thing really is that it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. So it's really about us changing to adapt to what the labor market is looking for. So we're dealing with an aging population. There's a lot of talk about what's happening in terms of the baby boomers. That's certainly affecting our industry. So people are retiring. Our workforce is aging. We're not just facing competition from other carriers in the industry, but we're facing competition from all kinds of other sectors for that shrinking pool of labor market. What people want from their employers is very different, and I think that we deal with a pretty cynical labor force now. We, for people before my generation, people worked for a company and they thought that they would retire with that company, and people had a lot of loyalty to their employers, and they were tolerant of the bad times with their employers because they expected that they were going to stay there and have a job until they retire. And certainly in the last couple of decades, we've seen that employers are a lot less loyal to their labor force. We're dealing with a lot of people that are coming into our industry that have been downsized and they've been outsourced, and it's not even just specific positions that are being moved overseas. It's entire companies are moving their operations overseas because labor is cheaper. So, we're certainly seeing, in our company, that the candidates that we're dealing with have, they don't feel that loyalty to an employer is well placed. They feel that loyalty is all about loyalty to themselves and loyalty to their families and their personal situations. So what they're expecting from us is very different, and what we can in turn expect from them is also very different. And the final one, there's certainly, I'm sure, many, many more, but risk management. And I'm not a risk manager in our industry, but I certainly work with our risk manager, and it's pretty fractious on occasion now. It can be very tough in our industry as a recruiter to find the people that aren't just qualified to meet our standards, but now satisfy the demands of our risk managers. So we're certainly, accident ratings, CSA 2010, in terms of our experienced labor market is really big, very focused on abstracts. We're becoming more and more focused on what references say about people. If one of our drivers is involved in an accident, what is that file going to say about that person? And what is that file going to say about what we did in terms of investigating them? So there's certainly, as time goes on, we find where in the past maybe we would have been a little more prepared to work with a candidate and try to sort through some of the blips in their background. In our company, it's all about having a strategy, and what is that strategy supposed to look like? And what we really try to focus on at Kuriskai is the fact that there is there's sort of a stereotype, that we're looking for. And having been in the industry for as long as I have been, and having been involved with recruiting for as long as I have been, I know that the sort of the pin the tail on the donkey form of recruiting has never worked for anybody, but that's really, we tend to be very reactionary, we tend to be really knee-jerk in a lot of our hiring strategies, and I've really tried to narrow that down at Kriska, and what I've really tried to do is zero in on who do we have in our fleet that represents us really well, and what are the characteristics of the drivers that we have in our fleet that do the best job for us, and we try to find a way to replicate that somehow in our hiring process. So, we certainly, when we look at the kind of business that we do at Kriska, we're very heavily oriented into food. We do pharmaceuticals, we do consumer products. We deal with some very big customers that are expecting that our drivers are really representative of the kind of service that they're going to be able to expect from us. So we focus on those sorts of things in our hiring process. In terms of where do we find those people, driver referrals are huge for us, as I think it is for most companies. And if your drivers are reasonably happy with your company, you will find very often that whether you're asking them to or not, they're promoting you. In terms of the experienced people that we hire at Kriska, the largest single source of candidates we get is from our driver referral program. And quite honestly, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, we don't have a formal driver referral program at Kriska. I do see, and I speak with other companies that have thousands, $1,000 or $2,000 signing bonus, and we don't have an active program like that at Kriska, but in terms of our experienced drivers, we continue to see our driver referral program as being the largest single source of drivers coming into our company. We've had some people come to us from external referrals, and they're kind of, they're gratifying in the sense that we will have candidates that will apply to our company that we can't process for some reason, and we end up turning them down. And I know that we are turning them down in an absolutely brilliant way, because even though we've turned them down, they send us people, and that's one of the really positive sorts of things about doing this kind of work, to have somebody say that they were recommended to us by somebody that had applied to us and didn't meet our standard, and that we had turned down, but they suggested that they contact us. And then the thing is, it's just trying to channel the number of people that are actually applying to us. We have we're pretty lean and mean. A lot of companies have had to go very lean and mean over the last few years, and we're just as lean and mean as everybody else. So in our fleet of 400 trucks, we actually have just myself, and I have an assistant that works with me. So, a key part of how we manage this whole process is trying to create a recruiting process that allows a candidate to opt out if they don't meet our standard. So if they can't run US, they're more than welcome not to fill out the application. If they don't qualify for a fast card, we have information on our website, and we're pretty blunt, I think respectful but blunt, in our message in terms of what it is that we're looking for, because we just don't have the time or the luxury to take all of the round pegs and try to find a way to manipulate them into the square holes. One of the key cornerstones of our recruiting strategy is our entry-level program, and I recognize that we're probably fortunate in a lot of ways that we have an infrastructure in place at Kriska that allows us to work with newly licensed drivers. For many, many, many reasons, we have such a strong business case at Kriska that supports this program. A newly licensed driver will consistently outperform an experienced driver on our road test program. I asked our safety people to give me some sense from an accident perspective, and the answer that I had back is, even though our new drivers do absolutely take a little more in terms of training and that commitment to resources, from a training perspective, fully 50% of the accidents that take place in our fleet are caused by our drivers that have 6 years or more of experience. So our entry-level people absolutely get involved in scrapes and dents and dings, but typically our newly licensed drivers are cautious and they're safe, and they do little damage. It tends to be the experienced drivers that get involved in the bigger crashes. And the great thing, quite honestly, about working with newly licensed drivers is we sometimes say they don't know any better. So electronic logs do not freak them out. Running legally does not freak them out. The technology in the trucks, it's second nature to them. When we work with our entry-level people, we're working through a selected school program, and we're dealing with new people that have a very positive perception of the industry coming in. They've got some good solid training, and they just, as a rule, don't carry all of the baggage that so many of the experienced drivers tend to carry. So from an operational perspective, other than the blips that go along with working with somebody that's new, their attitudes are very positive. They certainly understand that our industry is really changing and that this is about so much more than just driving a truck. It's about customer relations, and it's about how they're promoting our company to our customers. So it's really been a very, very easy sell for us. Now, working with new people is obviously costly. It's a big commitment in terms of training infrastructure, having trainers on staff. We have something like 22 trainers that work with us in our over-the-road training department at Kriska. We've got a small fleet of day cab trainers that work with us. We need to have a driver-trainer coordinator that manages this whole process. There are a whole bunch of people that get paid all along through this process. So we're quite happy that the Government of Ontario has actually stepped up to offer some financial incentives to assist us through this program. So this comes to us by way of the apprenticeship program. So hopefully everybody is familiar with it or knows that becoming a commercial driver in Ontario is an apprenticeable trade. There is, it's not nearly as complicated or as difficult to get involved in this program as I used to think it was when I first struggled to get Kriska on board. In our company, every newly licensed person that we hire, we register into the apprenticeship program. And there's tons of information out there, and I won't get into all of that now, but if anybody is looking for information on this program, please connect with me, and I'm happy to set you up with the right people. So other than that, though, where do we get our people from? As an industry, it's pretty tough. A lot of the traditional sources have gone away. We're fortunate that we're able to work with some students that are not yet 21 years of age in our corridor operation. We do have a program that allows us to focus on semi-retired people in our truck share program. The military has been not a huge, but a small but steady source of candidates for us. A very important part of how we manage our entire recruiting process has to do with our asset utilization. So we look very strongly at truck share programs for people that are not full-time, not looking for full-time, people that are semi-retired, maybe have another source of income, that want to work part-time just to keep their fingers in the pot. Performance management is really key in our company. We do monitor all of our drivers in terms of how many miles they're accumulating, how many miles they're running, how they're managing their time off. And then retention is really the other half of anybody's recruiting process. And you know, so much of the shortage of the drivers in our industry really is not so much, in my mind, a shortage. It's a matter of us hiring people and just not being able to hold on to the people that we've hired. So we do have a retention committee that I do sit on at Kriska. We're very focused with starting with the concept that says that we shouldn't be hiring our own problems. We do offer ongoing training programs, which includes career path programs, the most common being moving into a training role. We have company drivers that move into owner-operator roles. Then we do have company drivers that move into staff positions in our company. Many of our drivers don't have any intention of ever moving into any other role, but we think it's important that they understand that they have that option available to them. And then the final thing that we have in terms of our retention program is our Employee Connections program, where we take every new hire to our company and assign them a mentor, and the mentor is a manager or hire in our company that volunteers to sort of babysit that person through their first 3 months with the company. And then the last thing that I just have is best practices. I'm huge on best practices. Track who your candidates are. Look for trends in your fleet. Monitor the results. We're not afraid to go back and challenge any kind of a policy that we've created that's not generating what I think it's supposed to generate. We're very big on partners programs, do our exit interviews to look for things that we can improve on in our fleet. And then I'd always say, take advantage of opportunities like this. I am so happy that there are so many people in our industry that are very happy to share information, and I'm always a big believer in not reinventing the wheel, and there are a lot of people a lot smarter than me that have started some really smart things, and if I can, snag those ideas from them, I absolutely will. Thank you very much.